Hey, thanks for checking out this week's video. So today I've got something a bit different as it is my brother's birthday. Happy birthday! And I made him this miniature painting of a logo of his. He is a Twitch streamer and he does this awesome branding, and he recently redid his whole channel, so I thought it'd be kind of cool just to replicate his logo on this little wooden panel. You may have seen these panels before as I've used them for previous artwork. I'll pop them in a card above for anyone who's new to my channel and would like to check those out. And this is the first time that I am going to try varnishing gouache. That's right, varnishing gouache. Oh my goodness, was it scary, but I will cover that towards the end. So right now I'm just transferring the lines onto the panel. I've already sorted the lines out in Photoshop, printed it off and transferred it by scribbling on the back that you saw at the start there, and then I just neaten the lines. And of course my cat Gigi always needs to come in for a little cuddle while I'm making art. I always feel bad shooing him away. And this is my favourite part, moving on to the gouache. I actually added some Gall medium to the gouache, which is a watercolour medium, but it basically helps the flow, and I think this is the first time I really saw the difference crystal clear. You can see just the way that it's moving, it looks like there's a lot of water on the paper, but I assure you there is not that much. I did wet it first with the brush, but it's not saturated, but the paint is moving as though it is. It's just a really cool effect, and I hope that shows it clearly for anyone considering buying it. So the idea was to get this background in, and that pretty much be that, but I ended up not really liking it, so I go over it in the end. I don't think it was solid enough, and although it was the same colours as my brother's logo, the background in there, because it wasn't a solid colour, I don't feel like it worked, so you'll see how I changed that up. Okay, so on to doing the lines. I finally got to test out the Arteza miniature brushes, which, by the way, I say brushes, I just used the one, but it was more than enough, and I'm really impressed. I have had smaller brushes before that were sort of budget, probably the same kind of price bracket as the Arteza miniature ones, but they didn't perform anywhere near as well. So I actually used some acrylic gouache and some regular gouache on this. Originally I had planned to do it all in acrylic gouache, and then I realised I do not have those brighter colours like the magenta and the turquoise, so it ended up being a combination. Now I can't comment on the acrylic gouache for its layering purposes, which is the reason I bought them in the first place, because this is a very flat sort of cell shaded piece. But in terms of their consistency and how they go down on the paper, it is exactly the same as regular gouache. They even worked well with the Gall medium, as it was the acrylic gouache I used for the background. So this has to be my favourite part, applying the gold watercolour around the outside. It was a little nerve-wracking because I do not have the best control. I have really shaky hands. You wouldn't think as an artist my hands would be that shaky, but oh yeah, they really are. But it was relaxing actually, you know, once you realise just to go really slow and not to rush, then there's something very therapeutic about it. So here is where I decided to change the background. I just wanted to go for something quite simple that would help the logo stand out, so I thought doing that Japanese inspired rising sun would be a really cool way to go. So I went back to Photoshop and I lined it out, because I do not trust myself to go in with a ruler and just make it look good. I don't have that confidence. So I sorted that out in Photoshop, and then I did the same thing I did at the start, printed it out, scribbled on the back and copied it over. And this is where I had to go so slow because there were so many lines that were very straight. I considered using masking tape, and I do try it a little bit later on to see if it would be beneficial and quicker, but it was just as time consuming and, if not, more unpredictable than doing it by hand. So I just learned to take my time, and you'll see I'm using a flat brush, and I found sometimes just sort of dabbing the tip of it to make that straight line and then sweeping it across really helped me get those lines as neat as possible. Yeah, here is the masking tape. So my concerns were that I would end up taking the paint underneath off, so I was trying to put it on really lightly, which then meant the paint seeped underneath and didn't give me that very straight edge anyway, so I thought it would probably be best just to do it by hand. So I used the same technique as using the tip of the flat brush to make edges and then sweeping across when I got the confidence to. I would do that for either edge of the lines and then move back to the little round brush to fill it in. And as you might be able to see while I'm filling in the lines with the smaller brush, that my hand is shaking all over the place, but because I had already outlined the edges, it was perfectly fine. Like, I had a little bit of wiggle room. Quite literally wiggle room with the amount my hands were shaking. So once I had finished with the gold, I then just neatened up the odd edge here and there that I wasn't as happy with, and then I let it dry. Time for the scary part. So I had seen quite some time ago now a video of a woman essentially varnishing watercolor pieces using this wax medium. With it being the first time I've ever tried this, I decided to test it on a scrap bit of paper first. And I wanted to test out a few things. The purple was the acrylic gouache, so I felt like if anything was going to be okay, at the very least it would be that one. The magenta and the turquoise were regular gouache, so I thought they may lift. Who knows? That's why I'm doing the test, right? And then, of course, while I'm at it, I'm probably best doing the gold watercolor as well. So you can see right here, I'm really scrubbing. I didn't start off that way. I started doing it much lighter, anticipating that it was going to smudge everywhere, and I was pleasantly surprised. The only one that picked up a little bit of pigment was actually the purple, and it was so minute that you could barely notice it. It was really just a slight tint. So as you can see, the wax medium went on perfectly fine, nothing smudged. I did miss a spot. I noticed after it had been drying for a while, I picked it up and there was this patch that wasn't shiny, and it is only a slight shine, but I think it really adds a lovely finishing touch to it. So if any of you have ever tried this method too and have had great success, or perhaps tested it more thoroughly than I have, then please leave me a comment below. I'd love to hear your results. So other than just neatening up the panel edges, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, bye!